You disappeared.
Oh, I was trying to mess around and see if I could manually alter some camera settings on the cam.
You tried, so what you're saying is you tried to fuck around and didn't find out.
I fucked around and didn't find out the rare case. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of the Lasercomb podcast, where two guys comb through classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your esteemed hosts, NeoCal, and I am joined by son of Goldberg himself,
Siegeberg.
Siege. Oh, it's Siegeberg. Oh, that's right. I made a joke earlier and I already forgot it. Oh, that's right. Goldberg's your dad. Whoopi Goldberg's your mom.
With their powers combined, we get Siegeberg.
Siegeberg.
Siegeberg. Siegeberg.
See, I'm out of the loop, but I'm not that far out of the loop. We both just did the same joke at the same time. All right. The great heist would be if this just slowly became a wrestling podcast. Just over time, smaller and smaller amounts got chopped off to the point where we don't have to watch random stuff that is pitched to us.
I would love to do a wrestling podcast, but here's the thing: is there's already like a million of them.
There's 10,000 of them, and they're with actual people. Yeah, we wouldn't. Even the guy I listen to on Funhouse has like a wrestling podcast, and I'm like, nothing. I wouldn't be adding anything to that.
Right. That's one of the reasons why, after Too Much Energon, our Beast Wars podcast, once that's finally done, why I want to move on to a Highlander podcast because I can't find any.
Highlander would be interesting visiting because I know. Was there an anime? Was there a cartoon?
There is an anime, yes.
Yeah.
It's actually the best Highlander movie besides the first one. It's better than any of the
Holy
live
shit!
action sequels. Yeah, it's pretty good. I have
Oh,
it.
okay. That's good to know. I know there's some comics, and I grew up watching sporadically with my grandma the Highlander, like the TV show,
Yeah,
like the guy that owned the antique shop, and he had like the ponytail.
yeah.
Man, everybody cool had a tan and a ponytail in the 90s.
I know. It's like two of my biggest childhood heroes.
Antonio Banderas is like the hottest shit.
Two of my childhood heroes when I was a kid were Duncan MacLeod from Highlander and Tommy, the Green Power Ranger.
You know
Both
how
had long
much
hair and ponytails. So it makes sense that I grew
this
up.
is so weird. Is that I wonder if we had the same reasons for wanting to grow our hair out.
Yeah,
Because no shit, those are the coolest people. And I was like, man, you know how I'm gonna slay the ladies?
they were the two coolest dudes in 1993.
Oh, without question, yeah.
And I may be bald and son of Goldberg now, but I did have long hair for much of my adult life.
You growing your hair out when we knew each other in Nanaimo was part of what spurned me to just say like fuck it and grow my hair out and get shit on at work. And
Really?
yeah,
I had no idea I inspired you. That's pretty cool.
yeah, I always like literally like Duncan MacLeod. That dude was like the coolest dude. um Antonio Banderas. Later on, I can't even remember when A Knight's Tale came out, but Heath Ledger, I'd watched him in like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people don't even, yeah, I think that's one of his first.
Oh, and Eric Draven from The Crow had longish hair.
That kind of like almost shoulder length, like curly hair. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I want to get that. But oh, we're from a time, folks, where you were gay if you grew your hair out. To say in nicest terms.
Well,
To
I mean,
saying,
I was a metalhead, so most like metal dudes.
oh,
See,
that's true. You could get away with that.
if you were if you had long hair back then, you were either gay, a redneck, or headbanger.
Yeah, when I went to school, there wasn't any crowd of support for the latter there. So it was just well, being called a queer.
And even the
We're in
rednecks,
steer country.
and even rednecks would usually have mullets. Business in the
Yeah, I never
business in the front, party in the rear. Am I right?
I've never they're making a comeback the
They
last
have made a
few,
comeback, yeah.
which is wild. And not just like in a little way, like university students are doing it or whatever. Like I'm seeing many older and younger crowds with rocking the mullet.
Never.
Unapologetically, like purposefully shaped.
Yeah, never doing it, man.
I can't. I couldn't even imagine how. I mean, I it would be pretty funny though.
I
Like
didn't
picturing myself, like it'd be funny, but it'd be funny for a day.
I didn't I didn't witness the resurgence of the mullet until I moved back uh to the paradise of a town that I live in now.
I started noticing it like maybe a yearish before that, half a year before you left, but definitely in the last couple.
And when I actually started taking notice of it, I'm like, the fuck is this? 1992?
You're not Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, unless, yeah, very strange.
I remember when I had
Um,
long hair when I was a teenager, people would always like I too would get laughed at, but like everyone would call it a mullet, and I'm like, this is not a mullet. My hair is like long, like all the way around. Do you people even know what a mullet was? So I wasn't too bothered by it because these people were just outing themselves to be idiots.
oh yeah, yeah. For what was it? So you know how the longest time I just did the undercut and
Yeah.
then just I let it grow. Well, I mean, I still am, but I just let the top grow and let the top grow. And then I would have to straighten it because I have the longer it is, the less curly it is, but it's
Yeah.
curly when it's and so I had to like straighten it and slick it back because I worked at a very posh place, as you may recall. And if I ever didn't do that, I would like get semi verbal like warnings about my hair being disheveled. And I'm like, this feels like curly hair discrimination. There's a lot of you guys around here with pretty nasty hair, but okay.
I remember in the summer of 2009, I was still working at Blockbuster at the time, and I took a summer job at the one of the local movie theaters as well. So I had two jobs, and at the movie theater, they tried to tell me I had to cut my hair short, and I'm just like, no.
You just went, yeah, that's no.
I was just like, no, I'm not fucking cutting my hair.
And they didn't challenge you or anything on it.
No, because
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to get away with actually like forcing someone to cut their hair.
They mentioned it's funny, they mentioned like me cutting my like hair or whatever, and I'm like, oh, if this was like when in within the first few years of you hiring me, you guys could get away with that. I was like, this is like 2017 or like 2018, whenever they had brought it up, and I'm like, that's not happening, and you know it.
Yeah.
In the military now, men are allowed to grow their hair out as long as it's well kempt and like back if it's long enough. Just like the women, you need to tie your hair back.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is fine. I mean, usually, like when I had long hair, I would tie it back like when I was at work or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
par mostly just to keep it out of the way. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's our podcast about growing your hair out long. These
That
are the two stages
this is
of
this
this.
is the Laser Comb Haircast.
This is episode 89, by the way, of the Laser Comb podcast. And with the Laser Comb, you could go from Siege to Cal in like a matter of weeks.
I guess it is kind of appropriate that we're talking about hair, considering this is the Laser Comb podcast.
Yeah. Imagine this is the first episode you watch. You're like, wait, what are these guys?
Wait, is this actually about hair? And
Can you
combs?
imagine how confusing this? Oh, I'm inebriated in a legal pain dulling sense, and I'm going off tangent a lot and forgetting like mid sentence what we're like talking about. But I'm not wincing and hurtled over like a hunchback of Notre Dame. So that's good.
It's a good starting point.
It's a good
By the
starting
way,
point.
if anyone, this is called the I'm just going to talk about this now because there's not really much to talk about what we're actually in regards to what we're actually covering.
I warned him, folks. I told him, yea, dost thou needeth not lay upon thy sword, for I hath already brought upon us such bounty of pain.
So
and he said, nay, 'tis mine job.
is my duty. So I'm going to talk about the origin of Laser Comb for a minute, in case anyone
it's been like 50, 100, or maybe we've never talked. Maybe we've only talked about it on.
I talked about it on the
Patreon.
Reboot podcast.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, the Reboot podcast. Not even going to get into that. But anyway, so the first podcast I ever listened to was the joystick.com, a defunct gaming website, sister site to engadget.com, which is still around actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know they were sister sites.
In fact, when Joystick was shuttered, some of the people actually moved over to Engadget and are still there.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, I remember checking out the Joystick podcast.
It's fun. It's kind of hard to listen to now because it's like gaming news from like 15 years ago.
And that's the thing that'll make us timeless, is that we are talking about things almost episodically, and they are things specifically not new.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this in the far off future of the 2020s, past us, thanks you. Isn't it weird to think of that we're almost halfway through the 20s?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's actually really weird for me to think of.
So, yeah, joystick.com, their podcast, the Joystick podcast, it was hosted by like editor-in-chief Chris Grant, news writer Ludwig Kietzman, and a name who has become a person who has become a huge name in the podcasting world since Joystick went defunct, Justin McElroy.
Oh,
yeah, he was doing that before he was doing My Brother and Me.
Today I learned.
Yeah, so it's funny, like the McElroys are like kind of legends in the podcasting sphere now, but
Right.
like I know Justin McElroy from the Joystick podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not that historically knowledgeable. There we go. I got the phrase out. Not that historically knowledgeable about like the big movers and shakers of like podcasts. I just know I was way behind the times when I started actually listening to them. People had already been listening to them when they were like, audio and on Apple
Yeah,
store only. And
I started with the Joystick podcast in 2008. It's the first podcast I ever listened to. And so when there's a bit on one episode where they detail getting one of them details getting an email for asking from this company called HairMax with a product called the HairMax Laser Comb. Them getting an email asking if they would like to review the HairMax Laser Comb for for joystick.com, a video game website. And I won't, it turns into a pretty funny bit. And I won't spoil it. If you want to hear the actual bit, just go onto YouTube and just type in joystick podcast lasercomb.
Oh, and then the bit will probably pop
And
up.
it'll be there. Yeah, there's one video that has that bit that with scenes from Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Nice.
Anyway, so when I first started like getting everything together to launch a podcast, this was long before Too Much Energon even had a name. I referred to it at I was calling as I was like kind of like assembling everything I needed, uh, all digital assets I needed and everything like that. I called it, I code word it, gave it the code word Project Lasercomb as a little in joke to myself.
Nice.
And then eventually, I kind of just leaned into it, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna call like my quote unquote podcasting company? And I just leaned into it. And I'm like, fuck it, Lasercomb Productions. And the reason why I called this the Lasercomb Podcast was one, I couldn't come up with a better name, and two, this podcast is it's kind of the epitome of what we do, essentially, like our format and like who we are as quote unquote critics and entertainers.
Content creators.
Yes. We be content creating like it's 2014, baby.
That's right. But it's 2024. A whole
But
10 years later.
but anyway, so that's why this show is called the Lasercomb Podcast.
That's why you'll never spell it right. But that's okay because when you spell it wrong and it's like, did you mean laser? You could be like, nay, nay, and it will take you to the correct place.
Yes, and I spelled it wrong, honestly, just to make it somewhat unique.
Well,
I,
then when Google's like, did you mean laser, space, comb? You could be like, actually, no. And then it won't show just other random stuff with the
and,
normal spelling.
and then it won't
Okay.
show the Hair Max laser comb.
Nope. You get us instead.
I wonder if that product is even still around. I'm gonna look this up.
So the idea was that it stimulated your scalp with lasers.
I guess. I don't actually even know how it works. Oh yeah, it's still around. 23 years of service, innovation, and excellence. The Hair Max Hair Regrowth Laser Comb.
Oh,
Wow.
regrowth.
Yeah, it stimulates hair regrowth. This thing is actually kind of hilarious looking.
Does it look like it's from the future?
I want the future running through my hair. That's actually that's a line from the bit from the Joystick podcast. One of them says,
Oh, is it?
I want the future running through my hair."
I want the future running through my hair.
Anyway, so that's the origin of Lasercomb. Well, that was episode 89
Well,
of Lasercomb podcast.
Origin. What do you think the handles, the different handles that you've used? Where was? Because I'm boring. Mine's either been like Calhalla or like NeoCal because I like the Matrix. But what was Siege from? When did you learn the word / want to use it?
My first two initials are C and J. When I was a little kid, people called me CJ. That got shortened to Siege. And then when I was a teenager,
Especially if there were multiple Christophers or something, then they would.
Yeah. And then when I was a teenager, I figured out Siege is actually a word. So I just leaned into it.
Oh, so CJ became short C to
Yeah.
Siege, not Siege. I can see how that can naturally come about.
Yeah.
Right?
Christopher became CJ. CJ became Siege. Siege became Siege, the word.
And you were like, wait, this is a word?
Yeah, and then I was a teenager and thought it was cool, so yeah, I just leaned into it and started calling it, and just started actually actively referring to myself as Siege. When I was a teenager, that's what most people called me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
They were like,
some
"Hey, man, I want to shorten your name, but you're not letting me call you Chris."
yeah, that's what I tell people honestly if they complain that Christopher is too long. I'm like, "Oh, call me Siege then."
Yeah, there was a person I had was friends with named Genevieve, and she had a friend that sarcastically so, but would feverishly and sarcastically complain about having to pronounce such a multi-syllable name like Genevieve. Let people call you Jen or Vive or something.
Another fun fact about Siege is my former partner, who has actually been on this show before. Uh,
Mm-hmm,
that was
mm-hmm.
her nickname too. In fact, when I initially like first met her on a dating app, that was my opening line. Was like, "Hey, Siege is my nickname too."
Wonder what hers is from. Is it a name thing too?
It is a name thing, yeah. Her initials are
Because
also CJ.
I was going to say, was it CJ, Siege, and then
Yep,
why couldn't I?
exact same progression.
For some reason, I could not bring up their last name.
Well, it's in both of our cases, it's not our last name; it's our first and second initials. And
Right, right.
I'm not going to say I don't want to
No,
dox
no.
her, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
say on air what it is, but I'll tell you after we're done recording.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Anyway, if you're watching on video, today's a gray hoodie day.
it is a gray hoodie day.
Yeah, it's gray hoodie day.
Oh, actually, some other like internet handles that I've had over the years. Variations of Siege. Right now, I'm quite fond of Siege Eterna.
Mm.
Um, just because I think it sounds badass. There's a really cool song called Lux Eterna. No, not the Metallica song. It's by Polish death metal
Oh,
band Hate. Came out back in 2011. It's called Lux Eterna. And yeah, I just think Siege Eterna sounds cool.
it does.
My username for the longest time on things was Grimsicle.
Oh, that's right.
And
Xbox Live was the first time I saw that.
yeah, Grimsicle came about because when I was in university, I wrote a screenplay called Making the Venue. And it was about a metal
Oh,
band. It was about a metal band who are starting their first North American headlining tour, and they end up getting lost on the way to their first show through their own idiocy. And there's a subplot in the story where like a running gag is that they're a dickhead to their bassist just because
right.
they think he's like the least important member of the group, so they're a jerk to him. And there's a subplot that he's been offered to play like rhythm guitar for this like international like well-renowned
A
black
much
metal.
better.
Yeah, much better band. This international like uh world-renowned black metal band called Grimsicle. It was just a throwaway line that I came up with, and I'm like, actually, that sounds funny and
And
cool.
when did you write that?
2008.
You know what's funny? So many movies kind of following that like road trip theme were around and after that.
Yeah, I've
You know what I mean? Like that feels very like on the pulse of Hollywood because I can like think of oh man, there were so many movies that even came after that
we
that
we
basically sound like that.
we did quite a few table reads. Which, if you write like intentionally write comedy and you do a table read and the entire room is laughing, it's a very good feeling.
Oh, nice. Did that happen at some?
It did, yeah, yeah.
Rad.
We did a reading of the first act when that was done. We did a reading of the full script when it was done, and yeah, both times like people were just laughing their asses off. Which I'm like, this is this makes me feel good.
Oh, cool. Oh
Um,
man.
but people compared it to the Blues Brothers,
Oh, okay, yeah.
which I have to be honest, I've never actually seen.
Probably better because then that means like, you're not going to be swayed to purposefully like make similarities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a complete coincidence. Um, but uh, but yeah, that's where Grimsicle came from.
I
Those
used
are
Calhalla because somebody had NeoCal on Xbox Live. That
that
son of a
monster.
bitch. It was a dude who only played like beach volleyball and like photo dress up like games
I wonder
too.
if it's been purged now because I know Xbox Live did that a while. Well, they don't even call it Xbox Live anymore, but they did that a while back. They purged unused accounts. I think accounts that had been dormant for like 10 years.
Oh, so maybe I can get it back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think they got rid of the accounts actually. I think what they did was they purged the usernames. So conceivably if someone came back after like 10 years, they would just have to choose a new
Oh,
username.
they just purged the usernames. Oh, that's probably way easier than, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when Discord did that, and it's like, ooh, hurry up if you want to claim. And I was like, I'm the first one. King of the castle, king of the castle.
It's the little things, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are we
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
we're
on
supposed to be
episode 89 of the LazyCone podcast?
well, as our backgrounds suggest, we are covering a 2005 show called Invasion.
The hurricane creates chaos.
Tonight, the four-star hit returns.
People are going to be scared after a hurricane, you know. It's going to change your behavior a little.
I think there's more to him than what we know
I'm
about.
sick of your games. This is no game. You're destroying my family. I'm not your problem.
There's really nothing to worry about. Everything's under control.
Invasion returns tonight at 10/9 Central.
Why don't you give me some answers?
Only on ABC.
And for the audio listeners, Cal's background is Donald Sutherland from the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake, which is better than the original, I would argue.
Me too.
And mine is a picture of Goldberg.
The 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 WWE sensation himself. Not to be confused with Whoopi Goldberg.
Or
Imagine someone listening to this would actually been like, "Oh, I didn't even think this." If anybody thinks that, then they're not actually. Because if you
What's-
hear Goldberg, Whoopi
What's-
Goldberg doesn't come to my mind.
what's
first.
Seth Rogen's producing partner? His name is it Evan Goldberg? He's since Seth Rogen and James Franco split from one another.
Rip in peace, but
Seth
one
Rogen,
of those is a cool guy.
Seth Rogen. He's been his Evan Goldberg has been Seth
Evan
Rogen's
Goldberg.
Production partner since Superbad.
That's where that name is. Yeah.
Oh, and he wrote Superbad. He wrote
Yeah,
Pineapple
when I
Express.
watched it recently, he was a writer.
Yeah, he wrote Pineapple Express. He wrote The Green Hornet, which is
Right.
it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of a misguided take on the character, in my opinion.
Mm.
This Is the End, The Interview, The Night Before,
I thought This Is the End was pretty funny.
Sausage Party, which is a movie that is quite beloved. I think it's horrendous.
I watched it in theater,
So did I.
and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I've heard some critics whose opinions I typically value and hold in high regard refer to it as a brilliant comedy, and I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
No, you're supposed to agree with everything they like. I don't remember anything from it. I remember pee pee poo poo joke and people laughing
And a big orgy at the end with food.
with like food. And I'm like, symbolism. Get it? Because like
Because
the girl
Sausage
ones are the
Party-
buns and the boy ones are the sausages. The
Yeah,
vaginas are like the buns. Yeah.
It's not clever. I can't imagine why anyone would think the movie is, but Anyway, Invasion.
Episode 19.
The sun also rises.
The son of Invasion.
The sun no longer rises. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah. So what's the gist of the show is this. Let me tell you. Here it comes. The gist of the show is a place gets hurricaned.
Real quick, this is a Patreon submission by our longtime patron, Lewis, who has pitched us some real bangers in the past, including Nightman and Manimal.
That's right.
Manimal, one of the...
And he's following up with another banger.
Manimal being one of the... one of the most memorable things that we've reviewed on here. If for no other reason than the amazing performance by the legend himself, Simon McCorkindale.
Thank you. I was going to say, and I think it's because 100% of that was just watching Corkindale on screen.
Yeah.
He could be in any other role in any other thing and it would be terrible, but there's like a classic, like over the top acting to that man that reminds me of like black and white era.
He's great. I want to review more shows that have him in it because we've seen him in two things now.
He's the secret spice, is what I'm trying to say.
He was in that random episode of Hammer House of Horror, which was the first thing we saw him in, and
we were like, "Who is this guy?" Right? And it was just like an episodic role. Like that wasn't a recurring role.
He was just playing like a douchebag husband, and we're like, "This guy's actually kind of great."
Right? Our takeaway from that, discovering Simon Corkindale.
Yeah.
That's funny. That is...
I think that's probably the most memorable thing we've covered on this podcast so far. So,
and it goes to show, I don't know about the audio only, but on YouTube, they love Corkindale's face.
I know, for whatever...
That brings all the boys and the girls to the yard.
For whatever reason, and here's the thing. Our YouTube videos get barely any views, and I've made peace with that. But we have a small handful of people who like to watch the video versions of these shows, and that's why we keep doing them. But for whatever reason, that episode where we covered Manimal has like 10,000 views
instead of like 120 or 70 or whatever, because a lot of it is audio, and there's no dip. And from what I recall, Siege telling me, there's no spike or dip really in the audio ones when it comes to Manimal, but specifically YouTube algorithm, it's the face.
If you had to guess which what our most audio versions, what our most downloaded episode of this podcast is, what would it be?
Of LCP?
Yeah.
The audio most downloaded. I'm going to...
I don't think you're going to be able to guess because it baffles me.
Oh, so it's not a special.
It is a Patreon show,
but it's not like a holiday special or like a New Year or any.
Nope.
Interesting. Oh, I probably something that's popular that people remember from their childhood. Is it Carmen Sandiego?
That's up there.
Oh,
yeah. I think that's our second most downloaded one.
What could it be?
Ruby Gloom.
No shit.
Do you even remember reviewing Ruby Gloom?
Yes. That was an earlier one.
Yeah, that was episode 19. I sure as fuck don't remember anything about it.
I really liked the art style and like the characters, and I vibe with that. I can vibe with that. Ruby Gloom, though, like it makes me feel like if that's the most listened to one,
then maybe we should lean into that.
Maybe we should lean into
A Ruby Gloom podcast.
Imagine.
Let's see, what's our worst download? Oh, the Christmas episodes. Those are our
And that's fair because that's more for us than
yeah, and we kind of broke format with that too. Like they weren't random episodes; they were like Christmas episodes of random shows. But yeah, and
yeah.
also I've come to realize like a lot of people don't like Christmas anymore.
What?
Oh yeah,
You know
I
what decade loved Christmas? The 90s.
the '90s and the '80s, I think.
Oh, the 80s seems to have a lot of love for. Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, Ruby Gloom has like 4 times the amount of downloads as like a typical episode of this show. And
Wow.
Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego is a close second. And then the rest of them are kind of just hover around the similar numbers.
Huh. Ruby Gloom.
Yeah. Well, coming soon from Laser Chrome Productions, the Ruby Gloom podcast.
Razor Clone Productions.
Razor Clone. Razor Dome.
The Razor Dome. Welcome to the Razor Dome, brother.
Anyway.
Only dudes that look like Goldberg or you. You either have to look like Heisenberg or
Yeah.
Goldberg to get into that. To get into the Razor Dome.
Speaking of patrons, I was looking. We lost a Patreon subscriber recently, and it was someone who had never pitched us a show. They were a Patreon subscriber for like 9 months. They had never pitched us a show, and I had even asked them if what they wanted us to review, and never got a response. So I don't know.
Maybe it was someone that we knew that just wanted to show support.
It's I know I know their real name. It's not someone I know.
Oh. Well, well,
Maybe it's someone you know. I don't know. I'll tell you after
off they went.
I'll tell you after we're done. But I was looking at the tenures of some patrons, and holy shit, some of you have been with us for a long time. So big shout out to Lewis, who pitched this show. Big shout out to Cone Killer Confusor. Big shout out to Jared, Ranger64.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm forgetting any, and these are all people who have been like Patreon subscribers for like 3 years at this point.
Before yeah, wow, really? Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you
because
very much.
Before the Laser Comb podcast even came about.
Yeah. So thanks to all of you. And if I'm forgetting anyone, I'm very sorry. I'm grateful to all of you.
And it's brought you to this point where we are reviewing episode 19 of Invasion. You want to know the premise of Invasion? There's a
Throw it at me.
hurricane and aliens.
Here I am.
And aliens. That's it.
Rock,
yeah, I'm done.
rock you like a hurricane.
Wow. And this town's rocked by a hurricane. Little alien thingies swim around in the water or something like that. And they merge with you. But not like a Goa'uld taking over your body. You're both sharing like the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So more like the keepers of the my brain's shut off.
the
folks.
Jaffa.
The Jaffa.
The living incubators for Goa'uld symbiotes.
Yeah. It's not quite like that. And well, wouldn't you know it? People just trying to live a normal life in this invasion find themselves surrounded by more and more hybrids.
Yeah,
And they're being
hybrids is what they
jerks
call
to your
them.
kids.
There's
They're
a
being jerks to your kids. They're marrying your ex-wife. There's so much stepbrother, stepfather, stepmother bullshit.
I know, I was very confused. So especially when Evan Peters, a young Evan Peters, teenage Evan Peters, actually playing a teenager, which I'm like, what madness is this?
What black magic is this? Yeah, I
Evan
know. I was like, well, hold on.
Evan
Must have been-
Peters, an actor I do like. I looked
Me
him
too.
up. I looked him up. He is 2 years younger than I am, and that man played teenagers well into the 2010s.
Yeah, he's our age. He's my age, and homie's playing teenagers all the way up until like recently, as far as I know.
He was playing teenagers all the way until like, I don't know, 2015.
He has a timeless face. Because as much as he looks like a teenager, he could also kind of like look like, like you're strung out like older uncle. He's very
Yeah.
good at looking like a person that needs help. I don't know how to describe.
Well, and indeed, that's kind of what he played all the time on American Horror Story. Is that what it's called?
An American Horror Story, he has characters that he's recast as, because each season is like a different, uses a lot of the same cast, but like completely different time and premise and place.
I got so tired of that show. I liked it
And-
for the first couple seasons, but
I really liked the Lady Gaga season, Hotel.
that's when I fell off of it.
That one's my favorite. And it could be because of homie's portrayal of his Atlantic what's it called, transatlantic accent that he uses for the serial killer. That is a phenomenal performance. And seeing a man talk just like this, I assure you, talking to Lady Gaga in a transatlantic accent, why, it is rare indeed. And it's just, there's such ridiculous scenes in that, and I'm like,
that old Hollywood, the old Hollywood accent.
Exactly.
That was completely made up. It was made up by a Canadian.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring it up, because I actually saw a YouTube documentary randomly a couple of weeks ago that was about it, and it was a Canadian acting coach, I believe, who came up with it. I think she was a writer too, but I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, and the kind of accent that she developed over the years to give people kind of like a sophisticated but neutral tone, and she was the acting coach of so many people that became like how
and her philosophy
actors would speak.
Her philosophy behind it was that characters in a movie should be able, like, she didn't want like individual like regional accents like poking through in performances. So she figured the best way to do that is to just create a fake accent that everyone has. So conceivably, characters in a movie could be from everywhere and nowhere.
And that does make sense. It's like being on a Russian sub and your lead is a Scottish accent.
or you're playing an ancient,
You're playing a dragon.
ancient immortal from Egypt named Ramirez, played by a Scotsman.
I'll never get over that. An ancient Egyptian named Ramirez,
Played by a
Scotsman.
Oh, Highlander.
Have
man,
you
I'll tell
heard the song "Dance Like an Egyptian"? That's about me.
I'd like to be able to take credit for the dance. Wow, that's not a Sean Connery accent at all. What's wrong with me? Anyway,
I don't know what that was, but that was kind of great. It was its own thing. I was enraptured.
They say that cats don't dance. Well, I'm here to tell you that in fact they do.
Now what? That's like a combination of Sean Connery and Michael. Who's the guy that plays Alfred in the Batman movies?
Michael Caine.
Caine, thank you, Michael Caine. That was like Michael Caine, Sean Connery, and Megatron.
You know what it was? I just realized. In the movie I Love You Man, which I've talked about ad nauseum, maybe not on this show, but I've definitely talked about it on Patreon a lot. Um, I Love You Man. It's one of my favorite movies of the 21st century. There's a bit where they're the two leads, Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, are going like suit shopping for Paul Rudd's upcoming wedding, and he gets him. Um, I'm blanking on his name. Literally just said Jason Segel.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. Jason Segel like gets Paul
Jason Rudd and Paul Siegel.
Jason Segel gets Paul Rudd to do a bunch of poses in a suit, and he's like, he basically tells him to be James Bond, and they,
Yes, and he's actually tricking him, and he's taking
yeah, but Paul Rudd is like, the name is James Bond. He does this like really like dopey attempt at doing like Sean Connery as James Bond, and I think that might be what I was like trying to channel.
My favorite. I know exactly what you mean, because my favorite impressions are the ones that don't sound exactly like the character, but are like funny takes on the character.
Yeah, I mean that's like half of what we do on our
Which
shows.
is which, if you listen to these shows, is basically like why we make these. Yeah. But there was yeah, because it doesn't even sound like Rhinox, but like it sounds more like Rhinox to us, because we know we have like a headcanon of Rhinox's descent into the far right.
Oh, but if you believe those guys on Twitter, we really need to recruit them to be on our Beast Wars podcast, because they can do the
That'll
voices
get us
properly.
so much more listeners if we sounded exactly like the you know, like, oh, what a waste of a show. I have to like,
It's like for those guys, it's like they're over here, and the point is all the way over here, and they ran right past it.
and yeah, I don't remember what we're talking about. I'm on painkillers. People.
Doesn't matter. Invasion of the booby snatchers.
Oh, that's right. The invasion of the booby snatchers.
Someone.
Oh yeah, so they're
someone
hybrids.
has to have made that porn parody. It's
Right?
just right there.
So the hybrids, they're bullying the kids at school. There's bullying. There's like two dads and stepbrother. I worry about you scenes. What's his name is a teenager, but is actually a teenager.
Yeah.
There's like hybrid sheriff dad and park ranger dad.
Yeah. One of them is played by William Fichtner. Do you have any idea who you're stealing from? You and your friends are dead. Guy from
Specifically
The
that
Dark
guy.
Knight. Yeah, that guy.
He's in so many roles, but it's funny that he's in your head as that guy.
He's that
It's
guy.
like
to me,
the mob bank owner.
yeah, the mob bank manager with the shotgun. Oh, what the
Shots
fuck?
fired.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I did something. We're good.
We're good.
Technical
don't worry about it.
difficulties.
What else about Invasion? Yeah, there's a
Technical
bunch of school
difficulties.
stuff.
Good song by a band called Racer X. It's an instrumental.
There weren't. You know what? There was a part at the very end of this when it played music, and that was the best part of the episode. But I can't remember what song it was.
Not for me, because it was Riders on the Storm by The Doors. And let me tell you, fucking hate The Doors.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. But that song came on and I was like, ooh. And I'm like, oh, sorry, that was just faux being excited, because it's kind of like how trailers use hype songs. to sell how good the show is. I was like, wait a second.
There's actually a pretty fun Snoop Dogg song that samples the chorus from and the beat of Riders of the Storm by the Doors. That it's actually pretty decent.
So what you're saying is the secret sauce with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. uh, so
He's
yeah,
an interesting guy.
So the overall plot of this show, from what I could discern, is people, yeah, they're, as you mentioned, they're aliens living in the water. People who have died are turned into
Cats and dogs living together.
people who have passed away at some point, who seem to actually have memories of their previous life too.
Yeah.
Are reanimated as like human alien hybrids for reasons.
For reasons, yeah.
And I think William Fichtner is one of them because at one point he mentions dying in a plane crash.
And so he's been a hybrid for a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
And he's admitted that to certain people up to this episode.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, your dad's one of them, right? He's like the sheriff.
And some of them seem to be bad and some of them seem to not be bad, which I'm kind of confused by. And the ones who aren't bad, it's like, I don't know. I maybe I would understand better if I watched the show from the beginning, but I had a hard time really understanding why this was such a bad thing. Because
I was on the opposite end. I was having trouble understanding why people weren't going around town with pitchforks and shotguns.
Yeah, everyone's kind of just accepted it in the show. But
And there are some people that don't, but they're ostracized. They're like, hey, dude, just accept it.
Because these hybrids who come back seem to still be the person that they were before.
Yes, they're like mostly the person they were before.
So I'm like,
they identify as them, and they're.
So I'm like, I don't know, like they're half alien now, but like your loved one is back and not dead.
I'm the opposite, and I'm like, these things are basically demons. Why aren't people lifting the pitchforks and the torches and like rounding them up and like committing science like from The Thing to see like which one of them's are aliens?
Well, if I come back as a water alien hybrid, I'll steer clear.
No. You'd be okay. So one of the things about the show is like they're open about it, or the community is open about it. Like it's just a thing that people talk about. This isn't like some weird like conspiracy thing. Like it's very,
which is something I found interesting because it's like at that point, like you kind of would just have to accept it if these people just keep coming back because it's like, what can you really do about it? Short of like murdering
or prove it or like bring it to the government's attention but then there's like a mention in it that the government's known about it since like 90 whatever, right?
And it's like if these are still like living like sentient people, so
hey, they're paying taxes, aren't they?
Well, and they're like there's no real ethical way to stop this is kind of what I'm getting at.
Unless you round them all up, the government takes them away, and then everyone is paid hush money, or Men in Black show up at your door.
Totally ethical.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that's happening. All these water clones. There's a hurricane coming in. Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
And
I know
the
some
hybrids,
of our listeners got that.
Yeah. And but a lot of the hybrids are like hoarding water in batteries.
Yeah, because
they're like, are you not telling me something? And they're like, oh, no reason.
There's a hurricane coming up, and for some reason these hybrids are trying to go to it, and I didn't entirely understand why.
Oh, the cult.
Yeah.
The cult that's like, oh, south of Miami, 122 miles.
Yeah.
That like the sheriff goes to visit, but then they're not there. And then they're in the town at the very end, and that's the big reveal.
Dun dun dun. Yeah,
and that's the episode.
Yeah, that reveal at the end. Again, I'd probably feel differently if I'd watched every episode, but that reveal at the end landed like a thud to me.
Yeah, when it's
I'm
like,
oh,
and
okay.
actually he's in the hospital in the town. Riders of the storm. And I'm like, is that scary?
Is that supposed to mean something?
Is that
Is
bad?
that a big deal?
Is he
I
not
don't know.
allowed back? Is he a bad guy?
I laughed at one point in the episode though because there's what looks to be like a kindergarten class or something going on.
I loved that scene.
And
And
the
what
te-
are the four elements, children?
yeah, the teacher, who is clearly one of these hybrids, is like asking the kids about like what the four elements are, and she's like, "And here's a new word we're gonna learn today:
And spells
extinction."
this huge long word and is like, does anyone know what this means?
And then she proceeds to, yeah, it's the word extinction, and she proceeds to like go on this like kind of like unnerving like monologue. And one of the kids in the class raises his hand, and he's like, "Ma'am, some of us don't know what you're talking about." So I laughed at that.
That was pretty funny. I forgot about that. And then later there's it ties back to that because the little girl is like, Dad, what elemental plane do you like? What is it? What physical state are you in when you die and like return to be reincarnated? Are you like a solid, a gas? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's my homework. And he's like, learning about dying is your homework?
Yeah, that's your homework in like kindergarten or grade
Oh,
one.
oh well, everything's fine. I'm sure it's fine. And I guess the reason why people aren't up in arms about it is because like most of the people are hybrids that have like died, and like a lot of them are like this person's partner or this person's kid or whatever. So like there's enough strings of humanity here or there in the town that like they're like, well, this is a good thing, so let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, that's super sketch. Like, are they just starting to be creepy now and they've been like hiding their true colors like this whole time?
See
And
your
apparently an attack
true
is going to
colors shining through.
and are they?
I don't know.
Have they been pretending to be good boys and girls like the show V?
For Vendetta.
Yeah, there was a what is it?
I
Visitors or
V.
no?
It's I think V. I
It
can't.
was just its own thing.
It was a miniseries, yeah, from the 70s. Now, I don't know if it was playing off of the lizard people conspiracy theory or if it's what created the lizard people conspiracy
It's what
theory.
created the
Okay.
because
I
the
wasn't
OG
sure.
is like that too. Yeah, and in that they try to masquerade as people,
Yeah.
but they're small, slightly smaller lizard people underneath.
Oh, another actor that's in this show that I like is Tyler Labine. He was the kind of chubby guy who was like driving the Jeep with.
I know exact.
Yeah.
I every time I see him, which is rare, I'm like, oh shit! I'm glad that guy has work.
Yeah, there was a period from like the mid 2000s to like mid 2010 or early 2010s where he was kind of popping up it randomly in bit parts in a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like him. He's a good character actor.
I know him from what's the one where like the high school was on a boat? Ridgemont. No, that's a movie. 90, it had Ryan Gosling in it. And him and Ryan Gosling's characters were like best friends.
Uh, he is from. I'm not going to say it out loud, but he is from the same town that a former partner of mine was born and raised in.
Huh. Small world.
I just realized that people could easily look him up and figure out what town that is. I should have done that the other way around. Oh, well, he's from Maple Ridge, BC.
Small world.
I'll probably just cut that part out.
Oh, but I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Tyler, you were talking about we were talking about Tyler Labine, and you were talking about like what you know him from.
Oh yeah, I guess if I go to his IMDb,
He was in Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I've never seen, but a lot of people tell
I
me
have.
that I should.
I have. I actually was. I don't think it's trying to oversell itself. I think it knows exactly what it is, and it was better than I expected. I enjoyed it.
He was in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which is okay. It's lesser Kevin Smith, and even he'll admit that.
Breaker High. That's it.
Breaker High.
1997 to 98. Him and Ryan Gosling. I used to watch that and I liked their friendship.
I forgot, he was in Super Troopers too. He played one of the Mounties. Fuck, that movie's terrible.
I didn't even know there was a 2.
There was. It came out in 2018. I saw it in theaters, and I walked out before it ended. It's very rare that I do that.
Yeah.
And especially considering how much I love the first Super Troopers. Like, I actually just rewatched it again, like a month
The
or
first
two
one's
ago.
known for being like top tier. What? How did I not know there was a second one?
I don't know.
Weird.
But yeah, I remember now. Yeah, Tyler Labine was in that, and yeah, he played a Mountie.
Heh. Breaker High, folks.
I think it's supposed to be his wife in the show. I thought was pretty attractive, personally. Unfortunately,
So it had that going for it.
it had that going for it. Lisa Sheridan, she was played by, who I've never seen in anything else. Unfortunately, she has since passed.
Well, rip in peace.
Yeah, she died in 2019 at the age of 44, due to alcoholism and pills.
People don't think it be like it is.
Yeah, that's how Heath Ledger died.
It was just such, yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. I was like, oh, sweet, I like this chick. Look her up. What else is she in? Oh, she's dead. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Such a common thing too, but you can't do it. Like people don't think because they take painkillers and alcohol so lightly as like lightly controlled drugs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, every once in a while
What did
they
she
don't mix.
What did she mix with alcohol? Benzodiazepine. Oh, it's a downer. It's a anxiety medication.
Oh shit.
Well, I to be perfectly honest, I have often ignored doctors when they have told me not to take a certain medication with alcohol, but so maybe I will maybe I'll start listening.
There you go.
they're
Especially at that young.
yeah, she was only 44. There we go, Lewis. You may have saved the Siege's life by pitching this show.
We don't know how all of these strings led to us specifically talking about that thing, but you made a difference.
Yeah.
I guess you don't. Yeah. Anyways, Tyler Labine is great in everything he is. He's kind of like a smart dude. I couldn't tell if he was like the new husband, or a brother, or he's in and out. He's in and out. He's a computer guy. He's a smart guy.
He has some sort of relationship to Lisa Sheridan's character. I'm just not sure. It's not entirely clear what it is.
That's the hard-hitting journalism. Well, this character that's in the show, he has some relation to another character on the show.
Their characters have the same last name, so I'm guessing so they're either siblings or they're married.
Yeah.
But
that's what I always tell people.
That we're either siblings or either siblings or married.
Oh man, I am probably obvious anybody listening or like watching, but I'm like semi inebriated.
I know you've brought it up a few times now.
Certain legal substances.
Yeah.
But the other half of me fidgeting and moving around and being impossible is the incredible pain. Symbiote is living in my neck and shoulder.
Well, I think we could probably wrap it up here, honestly.
I mean, we talked about Goldberg. We explained laser origin. Yada yada. Yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Siege.
Yes.
You just caught a random episode from a show I didn't even know existed called Invasion. Would you tune in next week?
Here's the thing. I actually think the core concept is really interesting. And I like some of the cast.
It grew on me as I watched it. Yeah.
I think here's the thing, and you run into this a lot with network TV, because this aired on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons are long. They're usually like 20 plus episodes. I think this concept would have benefited from like a very tightly written, condensed 10 episode run.
Oh, miniseries, like a boom, like 45-minute long each, the same thing, an hour slot, but just
cut the 10 episodes.
You know what? I was thinking that watching that, I was like, there's something good here, but they're padding it out with like relationship drama,
with a lot of nonsense. Yeah.
So like, what were the things that actually moved in the episode? It's been revealed that this cult moved and that the hybrids are hoarding water. It's something they're planning for something, but they're not telling the normies.
And Park Ranger Dad was fired from his job.
Oh, sorry, Park Ranger Dad suspended
we forgot to mention that entirely.
There's two dads. There's possibly evil sheriff alien dad, and there's Park Ranger human dad.
Yeah.
Now, is Park Ranger human dad supposed to be I forget his name. The teenage he's actually playing a teenager.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters' character's dad? Because I'm like, I think Evan Peters is older than this guy playing his dad. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look.
I mentioned this before, but I mentioned this on Discord to you, but I'll mention it on air too. You know, in the movie Unbreakable, Ham Night Shamhammer's best film, in my opinion. Samuel L. Jackson, the character who plays his mom in that movie, is actually 10 years younger than he is.
Man, she must have been like a payday's a payday.
And I only found that out because I think I've told you about it before, but there's this guy, this channel, Minty Comedic Arts, and he does like videos where it's like 10 things you may not have known about this movie or this TV show.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
it
I
is
like
fun.
That stuff.
Yeah. It is fun. Yeah, I like him. He's good content creator. But yeah, he did one about Unbreakable not too long ago, and it was one of the factoids that he pointed out.
That reminds me, what was something that he was kind of miffed about, but ended up accepting the role anyways. Sean Connery played Harrison Ford's dad in Indiana Jones
and The Last Crusade.
That's it.
Best Indiana Jones film.
I always say that.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? But I mean, I also like Temple of Doom, so I understand people that really hate that.
I don't like Temple of Doom. Here's a bit of a hot take. I thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was fine.
I didn't.
I
signed.
That's fair.
I signed out when Shia LaBeouf was swinging through the jungle with monkeys, swinging on vines like Tarzan. I was like, I'm out.
Better swing through the jungle.
Not even kidding. That's a fucking scene in the movie. And like he swings through the jungle and like catches up to the Nazis that like drive around the jungle. And I'm like, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like this is
apparently that latest Indiana Jones film, Dial of Destiny, is even worse than Crystal Skull. And I won't know for sure because I never intend to watch it because I don't need to see 80-something-year-old Indiana Jones.
And how did we even get on this tangent from?
I
You
don't
were
know,
like,
but
here's the thing. Oh,
but
the actors are,
yeah,
they sell it.
yeah, good cast. Yeah, so overall, good cast. Really interesting premise. Just too padded out. Could have used a.
It does feel padded.
It needed a tighter, like lower episode count. So
But
no,
the plot does it.
no, I probably wouldn't tune in again next week.
You worded it like really well. You and phrased it like better. If it was just like shrunk into a mini series,
Yeah.
it would have been.
If
It would
this
have
show
been
was
great.
made for a streaming service now, it would have been 10 episodes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would have been 10 episodes, and it'd probably be good too.
Yeah.
Episodic, just coming in and watching this, same thing, exact same thing. I could see all the seeds and like some of the actors. I don't know how many, there's so many step siblings and like not understanding, like some people want to like fight back and then like others don't. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the drama is like great if you're into like soap operas or you've watched all the episodes.
Yeah,
but,
all
like,
the familial
kind of just nothing happened.
all the family drama was a little too melodramatic for my liking. Because here's the thing: you can stumble across like a random episode of a show, and we do it all the
Yeah.
time, and not have any idea what's going on, but still be interested enough to actually like figure out what's going on. 24. I came across a random ass episode of season 4 the first time I watched it, and I'm like, holy shit! I don't know what's
That
going
show
on.
is definitely designed to be the mascot of holy shit. I don't know what's going on, but it's great.
I don't know what's going on, but this is exciting to watch. But unfortunately, this show just it just doesn't have that for me. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch it again.
Yeah, same.
Sorry, Lewis,
Sorry, Lewis,
but you did save my life potentially.
that's right. You taught you taught Siege that take those don't take this medication with alcohol seriously.
Yep. And on that note, that was episode 89 of the Lasercomb Podcast. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. LAZORCOMB, where starting at the $5 tier, you can also, much like Lewis did, pitch a show for us to watch. And you also get a exclusive Patreon podcast, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show, and a whole bunch of other goodies. So if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Join the Discord if you want to interact with us. As always, link in the description. And yeah, that's better than following us on social media, in my opinion.
I don't even know what social media is, man. Like it's.
I'm actually very, very close to deactivating my Facebook account. So
Yeah, what is?
Yeah,
I mean, I use it to talk to people through Messenger, but outside Messenger, I'm like,
yeah. I'm at a bit of a crossroads personally, where I'm starting to make a concerted effort to disconnect a little bit.
hell yeah.
I actually I just got rid of my my smartwatch, and let me tell you, it's actually been kind of nice not to have it feel it vibrate all the time to notify me that like I got an email or like someone commented on
Someone in a
something.
Discord channel like posted something. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do you have phantom vibrations?
not really. No.
When I got rid of my work phone way back when I did security, I would get, which I would have on my hip, basically just like Paul Blart, like got it on the hip attached to my belt with a little belt clip thing. But I would feel like phantom vibrations like once every day or so. Even if I wasn't even wearing it, it would be weird.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, join the Discord. We
You can have the name Phantom Vibrations. It's available on our on our Discord.
Lasercomb Productions 5, The Phantom Vibration.
The Phantom Vibrations.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with not a Patreon pick, because I think we've actually gone through them all. So we're gonna do something that's a little fun for us, you know? We're gonna be talking about the A-Team.
It's like you said, it's amazing that we haven't.
I know, there's so many like shows that pop up in my head where I'm like, wait, why haven't we covered that? And something like the A-Team is kind of perfect. It's entirely episodic. The tone in it is very light. It's a very fun show.
And interchangeable enough where you could probably literally watch them in any order.
Yeah. And
yeah, it was made for this. Yeah.
From what I recall, because I've seen a lot of the A-Team. I don't think I've seen all of it, but from what I recall, none of it's ever especially bad. Like, it's not good or great per se, but it's always enjoyable, no matter what's going on. And
it's a good choice.
I'm looking forward to it, and just pointing out like some of the more hilarious aspects of it, like how no one ever gets shot. They always like fire their guns up in the air. The only enemy, the bad guys in that show are always dispatched by someone, usually Face, firing off his machine gun. The tire, when they're being chased, the tires of the bad guy's car or truck popping, the car or truck flipping, a slow motion shot of the car or truck flipping over. And that's how the enemy is dispatched. It happens in every episode. Their budget for like destroying vehicles must have been astronomical.
Like maybe they just used a bunch of junkers and
yeah. Anyway, so to figure out what episode of the A-Team we're going to be watching, I'm going to hit share screen. And
did you know that some people only consider hoodies a hoodie if it doesn't zip up? That's a sweater or a zip up. And a hoodie is the thing that you actually pull over your head.
Oh. See, I only like zippered hoodies. I don't like ones that don't have a zipper. I'll never buy one.
What are your thoughts? There's only one that I wear, and it's this one. It's a shitty ratty one that everyone sees me wear like all the time, and I'm gonna wear this until it disintegrates like a dandelion in the wind.
I have quite a few hoodies at this point.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I just like this one. It's like the perfect, like, I don't know how to describe it, but like it's just baggy enough where it's not hot, but still covers me and keeps one of a kind. One of a kind hoodie.
So the A-Team had 98 episodes over the course of 5 seasons. So one random number between 1 and 98, and here we go.
They were so close.
I'm hoping we get an early episode, because apparently the last season is not very good. 20. Okay, that's season 2. I'm okay with that. No!
What?
It's a part 2.
Oh, it is.
It's a part 2.
Yeah, right there.
All right, re-roll.
We know the rules. We don't do. We have not suffered.
Yeah,
We've
never
suffered
again.
to learn. Never again.
68. Oh, that's
not nice.
That's season 4.
Oh.
68. The Heart of Rock and Roll. Let's see how good season 4 is. Let's see what the episode's about. 68. Rick James asks the A-Team to help old rock and roll legend C.J. Mack, whose life in prison has suddenly become very dangerous. Special guest star.
In contrast to
Isaac Hayes as C.J. Mack. Okay, I'm good with this. We got Rick James and we got Isaac Hayes.
God damn, man.
All right, so we'll be
this
back.
Episode's gonna have everything.
We'll be back in a couple weeks' time with that. Until then, I've been Sageberg. One of your hosts.
And I've been wow, that really doesn't go with my name at all. Because I'm either Berg Cal or Neo Berg.
Neo Burger.
Neo Burger, there we go.
Come down to Neo Burgers and get yourself.
Oh, it's like Beyond Meat. It's Neo Meat.
Oh yeah, there we
and
go.
it tries to be futuristic. It's Neo meat. It's better than normal meat. That's right. You are. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Just,
Come get
just
your Neo meat.
Just before we sign off, I realize I don't think I mentioned, but the reason why we've been talking about Goldberg so much is, well, because he is my background, but I went with him because the name of his theme song is Invasion.
Yes, and I went with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. See
Because
what we did there?
yeah, the parallels are obvious.
The
Anyway,
parallels are obvious, especially with Goldberg's theme song.
yeah.
I think way more that has to do with Invasion, the TV show, than Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
If only like Park Ranger, like Cop Dad, or that's what it is. When William Fichtner shows up, he like smashes the door from his office open, and the camera just like follows in front of him as he like walks through the precinct.
And he's like oddly moist.
And in the hallway, there's just a bunch of cops just standing there with their arms crossed.
With their arms in front of them. Oddly, most of them very skinny. To emphasize the size of Park Ranger.
Yeah. All right.
And then he finds Stepberg, and gives him a spear and a bloody nose, and they have a good old man-to-man, heart-to-heart.
And yeah, he gives him a spear and then a jackhammer, and he's like, "Who's next?" Pyro goes off. Someone calls the fire department. All right, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
It was the summer of '89.
More impactful for us than the summer of '69.
I think I barely remember 1989. Yeah,
I certainly don't.
I barely remember it. My memory doesn't start getting vivid at this point until like 91. Which is
yeah,
just
92,
nine,
3, 4 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, 90, I guess, yeah. So that's when I went to kindergarten, and I remember kindergarten pretty well.
I have friends that like have memories from when they were like a baby or toddler, and I'm like, what?
My earliest memory is, and it's this most like incidental thing. It's always stuck with me. I would have been like maybe 3 years old. So like 1988. But it's just this memory. I was wearing this gray sweater, and much like this. And it had this zipper on the front that went horizontal. And the zipper had the part that you actually pull to open and close the zipper was this long silver bar with like a ball on the end. And I just remember like zipping it back and forth.
Just have it. I know exactly what you're describing. That type of zipper. Like,
yeah, that's my earliest memory. And I would have been like maybe 3 years old.
And again, I only have like 5 memories before I'm even 10. But my first memory is I'm like being held, and I'm like 2, maybe like 3 or something like that. And it's snowy, and my dad's carrying me somewhere. And was showing me how to like make snowballs. And his friend was like, "Oh, but you want to stay away from these." And like, you know how like in cities, like it gets in the corners of the street and turns black and like shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the dirt or like whatever. Snow is ugly in the city.
It is, yeah.
It's like beautiful everywhere else in the world, and then the city, it just turns into black, hard stuff in the corners of the road.
Well, it's
And I
because of
remember-
cars.
Yeah. And I remember turning and like looking and seeing that and thinking it was like the grossest thing ever, even though I was barely formulating what snow was. And then trying to throw the snow in my hand like at him.
That's cute.
And then like nothing for like 5 years. Then like no memories for like until I'm I have memories of some of the foster care stuff, but it's for another time.
Mm-hmm.
Time to get jazzed up. Okay, this guy's coming towards you. Or the guy behind you in your background is coming for you, which is scarier.
Who can say?
Nobody can.